The day I flew for the very first time was the night before JFK had died in the very same airplane that
Wow.
I flew in. The next big opportunity for us is first week of November, we'll be launching in Whole Foods. And you take something as simple as chai and then you think about how can I do this better at a scale. We started from scratch and I built distribution for the company in 40 plus states.
Let's get into it. So
Yeah.
I want to give you the chance to introduce yourself, because one of the things that I've learned from speaking to you over this time is you've lived a lot of past lives. You've been a pilot, you worked in the beverage industry, and now we're going to chai. How would you introduce and summarize a lot of what you've done?
My name is Madhu Sharoff. I go with Madhu Sharoff just to keep it easy peasy here in the US. And, it's been a journey and I've taken on board what life has given me. You become a product of your environment and you take those opportunities and you make the best of the cards that have been dealt to you. And I would say those are all the results of how I ended up in chai. All the information that I've gathered and learned and over time try to be good at is just a constant try at how can I do this better? How can I do this better? And you take something as simple as chai and then you think about how can I do this better at a scale. So in a nutshell, product of my environment, really, from being a pilot, that was the dream. That was kind of the, you set your mind
Well,
on.
let's start there at the beginning. What drew you to being a pilot early on?
Yeah. So when I was about 14, I moved to Hong Kong. I lived close to the old airport in Hong Kong, which is the old OG of airports, Kai Tak. It's one of the most notorious and famous airports in the pilot community because it was just very hard to land over there and so forth. So living very close proximity to that, I would hear airplanes, see airplanes from my bedroom window. And that just kind of drew me to understand how a piece of metal goes around the world with people and then brings you back to Earth safely. So understanding the science, the curiosity, the feeling of all of that. So very first time I tried a simulator at the Hong Kong aviation school, I was hooked from there. And every milestone in my pilot journey has been associated to some major event. Like the day I flew for the very first time was the night before JFK had died in the very same airplane that I flew in. So there's
what a night to do that flight.
That was, it was like the news in the morning was, okay, JFK Jr. died in this Piper, I think it was a Piper Cherokee 6 model. And I was going up in that very model airplane. Not that, it mattered to me. So I came to the US to learn to fly. And the school that I desired to go to was Embry-Riddle. They're the Harvard of aviation, basically. And even that, initially, I thought that was not going to happen. How life made those turns for me to go and graduate from there.
So one of the first big leaps you took was entering the beverage and wine industry, and you spent, I believe you said 10 years there. What are some of the key things you learned about the wine industry generally and scaling a beverage business over the course of that decade?
So I came into the wine industry more so brokerage setting where we were basically the middleman. Scaling a beverage business, to me, what I got out of the experience and being in the wine industry was distribution. That's the key. Being everywhere, being available, achieving large volumes with that. And that's only possible if you set up a good, solid foundation in distribution. And also with the crowded market, it is the beverage industry. You see brands come and go all the time. Some are just viral and some are here to stay. You have to make sure that you are fast enough to get your product to the consumer. And with growing social structure of our world these days, attention spans are very small. So if you're not there in somebody's hand first, then you've missed the opportunity. So I think to sum up, like 10 years of experience in scaling, those are the two things. Be there first, be fast, as well as set up a very solid distribution. You have to build those relationships. It takes time. I did that for my previous company. We started from scratch and I built distribution for the company in 40 plus states. And it took me well over 3 years to do that. And I traveled nonstop. I was in a new state and every other week, and got to see a lot of the country as well, remote parts of the country that I would never travel myself.
There's a couple of lessons that you touched on in the previous question with making sure you're getting the drink in the hand of consumers very quickly, stickiness, and having immediate recognition factor for consumers. And relative to being in the wine industry, is now being a founder of an early stage company, what are the most surprising details you've learned about the consumer space?
I think the surprise still is consumers are looking for quick and convenient, and it's mind-boggling how in the market there are brands that come in with a lot of money and they're able to use marketing to divert attentions of consumers and acquire those consumers. Just the time span in which the turnover of consumers happens from, let's say, one product to another, one brand to another, is a surprising thing, which is why, I mean, myself and others all end up relying on heavy amounts of data to be able to take those next successful steps where you are essentially minimizing your risk. So yeah, basically you have to keep pivoting until you understand what to do with the consumer.
Yeah.
Be able to lock them in.
To follow up on that question, when you talked about a lot of the data that you use to better understand how to best target customers in the consumer space, what are some of the metrics that you think are the most significant to track when you're running a direct-to-consumer brand?
So the product speaks for itself. I mean, at least in my case, the metrics that I'm looking for with Kimbala is how much people actually are willing to accept the change, because chai has always been painted as, you know, cinnamon and sugar, and it's just a very sweet beverage. So I look at, you know, what people are doing, why are they consuming what they're consuming, and how do we pivot our message to reach those people. And if there is data available on that, then I use that data. And unfortunately, you know, in the beverage industry here in the US, wine is almost a $90 billion business, and there is plethora of information. Then you jump into the tea and coffee. Coffee is much more dominant than tea. However, America is familiar with tea in form of your Arizona iced tea and cold brew teas and those kind of things. Then chai is a much smaller segment, but I still think it can be a $1 billion brand, not necessarily mine, but anyone to do chai properly. But it is a very small subset. And to acquire data on chai specific it's absolutely been very, very tough for us. So we're pulling data from different aspects of beverage industry and see where it connects to chai or consumer behavior and then use it.
Yeah, so I want to now start to talk about chai. So I think the perfect place to start is the memories of chai that we've grown up with. I was telling you before our call, I remember my earliest memories being in Rajouri Garden, sitting in the balcony with my grandmother and, you know, Parle-G in hand, drinking chai. And I want to ask you, what was your earliest memories of chai?
You know, now at this point in life, especially transitioning through the wine life, I have a very high appreciation for food and beverage. And it is also what ties us to different cultures and where we are from and other things. And chai came to me in my life where we lived in New Delhi, and summertime we would travel down to go see my grandma in Mysore, which is my hometown. And it was about a 2.5, close to 3 day train ride from New Delhi to Mysore. And being on those trains, every other stop you would have those chaiwalas get on board, and you would hear them go through the compartment saying chai, 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 garam chai, you know, like that still rings in my head. And it just almost feels like a movie scene now to think about, you know, me sitting in a train and then these chai people passing by. The sights, the smells, and like the sounds are just still so fresh.
Yeah.
But that's where kind of chai came into my life.
Chai is such an integral core memory, I think, for anyone that's grown up in India, even the broader diaspora that's moved to the US and across the world. Why the particular brand that you started? What does the name mean and what is the mission behind your
Yeah,
brand?
we went through a long list of names, and the word Kimbala kept coming up to the top of the list for us because it had a deep rooted meaning in Sanskrit. It's actually Kimbala, is how you would pronounce it. So, coming from the wine background, having designed wine labels, if people don't know how to pronounce it, especially here, they forget it. To give you a further example, in the wine world, Italy makes a wine called Franciacorta. It is basically, Franciacorta comes from the south of Alps, from the foothill of Alps, from this state called Lombardy. It is emulating France, Champagne. Some of the Franciacorta is a much higher quality than some of the basic champagnes. But here's long story short, in America, people don't drink Franciacorta as much as they drink champagne or even Prosecco, for example. That's all to do with marketing. And that, having that knowledge from my experience in the wine industry, I decided I will not name any of my product anything complicated. It has to be much more relatable. So that's a piece of data that I took from a different industry, used it towards what I'm working on right now. It's Kimbala, and it is read and pronounced as Kimbala.
Yeah.
Except if you are familiar with the Sanskrit background of it, which is Kimbala. So it translates into a question, which is, what is your strength? And I thought it had a great meaning and a great purpose to it. And when I was giving up my career at that time in the wine industry to start this, it required a lot of strength. And so this word really just kind of connected with me. And that's where the name Kimbala was born.
Now looking at the future of Kimbala, what does the next 5-10 years look like for you? What is your vision for what you want this brand to go into?
Great. The vision for Kimbala for me is, are you familiar with Blue Bottle Coffee?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Wouldn't be in tech if I wasn't.
That, and you wouldn't be from California, right? So I lived very close to the Blue Bottle Coffee's roasting facility in Oakland, California. And it used to be on my way to work, so it became a daily ritual. Blue Bottle Coffee did a lot of things, a little bit outside the envelope, carefully designed, premium brand. I would pick up on these little nuances and think about how I would envision my own brand. At that point, chai was not even in my head. It was because of my daily activities on building wine brands or making labels and understanding what grabs attention with customers and so forth. So in a nutshell, Kimbala, I view Kimbala will be the blue bottle of chai one day. So that's the long-term goal. And I want to give people the premium experience of having a proper authentic chai. And it's not one of those 2 pumps of this, 3 spoons of that. So when I say Kimbala will be the brand of chai in the United States, and the experience for the customer will be walking into a Kimbala store and the touch and feel of how Blue Bottle Coffee is. That's what I envision. Will things change between now and then? Yes, definitely. So what are we doing to bridge the gap between now and that vision is doing a lot of the smaller blocks on reaching consumers through food service industry, for example, and building our wholesale market, building a proper distribution foundation that is efficient, that is lean. There's so many hurdles in which you end up not being able to give quality to the consumer because beverage has always been designed for the system. It's not designed for the consumer. To give you a very quick example, you go to the store to pick up a beverage. Most beverages have XYZ amount of shelf life, whether it's 8 months, 2 years, whatever. And that is simply because it's designed to go through the channels of being in one warehouse, transportation, another warehouse, then it gets to the back of the house and the retailers, and then so forth. So one of the big goals along with that vision of Kimbala being the blue bottle of chai. I want to get consumers to a fresh, clean product. You don't make chai at home and then stick it in the fridge thinking I will have this for the next 6 months, right? So the biggest puzzle for us to solve is how to keep it fresh and then also how to get it to you at a nominal price and to make it a everyday part of your life. Just like how chai is in India. Nobody thinks twice, I have to order chai. It's made at home, or you walk down the street, or the guy on the bicycle will come in, stand under your building, and then, the 3 rupees chai, probably 10 rupees nowadays, but I want people to really enjoy chai to what it is without the complications, without the marketing, without the simplicity and the best quality of chai. That's really to paint a picture. I use Blue Bottle as a reference, but there are so many things between here and that end of the bridge. And we are working on all of those smaller nitty gritty details, and which is taking a lot of time. And it's been a little over 2 years trying to build this.
You describe food as a system, and I think that's an important distinction. I'm curious from a customer perspective, are the average users of these products?
Yeah, for us, consumers buying food and beverage online has been on steroids in the last 3 years per se, pandemic really accelerating it. So I believe that, that will be the way going forward. But at the same time, for us, my focus still is on the wholesale side of business, the distribution side of business, and the food service side of business. Our website is there, it's live, people go on there, people order, but we have not even scratched the surface of doing what a lot of brands are doing, going D2C.
When you think about the next week, month, short-term horizon for Kimbala, what are the next things you see coming into the market?
So the next big news and opportunity for us is first week of November, we'll be launching in Whole Foods. From a founder's perspective, it's a very surreal feeling. And then you start thinking, how's it going to go? What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? And preparation. And then you get on the shelf, and then there is 10x the work to continue to do, because you still have to fight for it. It's like a boxer. You prepare for so long, then you get in the ring and you get beaten up, and either you die or you come as a winner. So, there is that justly optimistic feeling of, let's make this happen. We are grateful for the opportunity, but there has been a lot of seeds that we have planted in the last 1 or 2 years for us to get to here. And slowly but surely, I believe in steady growth rather than, a TikTok viral and then 3 months later nobody's talking about you. That's really not my style. So we're gonna take it with a pinch of salt, and we're gonna be in Austin Whole Foods, and excited to see how that journey leads into even other opportunities, perhaps.
First of all, congratulations. I mean, that's a huge step. And I understand, though, it's, this is the first step of the race. As a runner, I often think about things in that context. What are the products you expect to be sold in Whole Foods?
Yeah, so we're going to do our RTD products. So it'll be 1 chai and 2 coffee options that we have. I've said this particular phrase so many times that it's almost kind of become our theme, chai done right. Keep a simple product on the shelf, move it fast. Also, because we have a short shelf life compared to most beverages, because everything is very clean. There's no preservatives, no artificial flavors, no extracts, none of that. It's just clean chai that how you would make at home. And we bottle it and we make it here locally in Austin. And we're going to try to keep that freshness of the product and fight the system, as we talked about system earlier. A lot of people have suggested I should go to a co-packer and put it in a can and then extend the shelf life and other things. I'm open to all of those ideas as well, but I want to see if we can design the product for the consumer rather than fit into the system.
When you think about building a brand for an online business versus for a distributor, what are key things that you have to consider in a partnership selling directly in the store?
You want to partner with what would be the right distributor where you get the scale, you make the impact, but you also don't partner with somebody so big that you get lost in the 1,000 other SKUs that they have. There are a few other exciting projects in the pipeline. Hopefully, come January, they'll start bearing fruits in the distribution realm of things. I have seen a lot of resistance in, shelf life, cold chain, and we're not interested. And getting their minds to open about, hey, small shelf life doesn't mean that it's not going to bring in revenue or it's not going to do the numbers that you want. And we're trying to convince people or make them understand that perishable is a good thing. That's another message that I am trying to carry with Kimbala, that don't be afraid of products that are perishable. Through cold chain, it's possible to reach customers, provide them with fresh products. You have the Cook Unities, you have the Sun Basket and certain brands, Thrive Market and so forth, that are reaching consumer with fresh products by sending it either frozen or cold pack. And just to add, the cold chain industry is growing by close to $10 billion every 3 to 4 years in the United States.
Okay.
So by 2025, we're looking at over $645 billion market for cold chain just in the United States. And we are a small part of that. We are a small fish in that big pond with the right message. And hopefully people are going to be more open to that idea. So distributors who tell me, okay, you have a 90-day shelf life product, it's clean, it's fresh, we have a consumer base for that, and we will give it a shot. And that's really what I want to hear, that they will give it a shot, and then the rest is up to us to get the work done and to make a distributor's life easy for them to appreciate us and then bring us on board. Easier said than done, but there's a lot to be done. And I've been successful in the past in the wine industry. I hobnobbed with the right people all the way in Southern Wine and Spirits to Republic National, the two largest distributors. And I was able to develop relationships with some of the top people there. And as a result, open up our portfolio to the country. And I hope to achieve that even with Kimbala, with our products, with our cold chain products and so forth. It is possible.
You touched in your answer on the consumer base, and something that's interesting to me about chai is, having grown up as part of this diaspora, so to speak, in this country, we grew up with it, but we don't always have access to it in our adult life living in LA and New York City and San Francisco. What was your leading indicator that there was a demand for this that made you jump into starting Kimbala?
Yeah, it's so funny to think. It brings me back to going to Blue Bottle almost every day. And it was almost out of annoyance that, when I want chai, there is no specific place I can go and think, okay, this is awesome, our proper Desi chai, That and a combination of when I would go to my friends' places, non-Desi friends, and I would bring my whole tea kit to their house, like that leaves everything, and I'd go there, make everything. A few friends actually did come and they were like, dude, you need to bottle this stuff. And that was all like a joke at that time. And, funny enough, when iPhone throws you like 5 years ago, you were doing this on this day and shows you an image. I recently came across an image where I was pitching to my friends the very first time. I had no label, no name, nothing. It was just liquid in a bottle. There were 8 of us around the table and I'm just there. For some reason, like I was dressed like a rapper or something. It's a hilarious photo actually. And I'm pitching to them that this is what I will be working on. And, I'm unemployed and this is my next big move in life. And just a very surreal moment to think from there. And then next month we're entering Whole Foods. So what an amazing journey it has been so far. And then there's more to it.
I want to end with reflecting on your broader journey. What is like a principle that you either live your life by or would want to share with others?
Yeah. Oh my God. I think we need some chai for this.
I know. I wish I had some chai next time. Yeah.
So I think having grown up different places, different people, different cultures, and then, America, melting pot, and okay, business is my life. I'm constantly networking, making deals, talking to people. I think the common factor for me that really invigorates me is your word is the final thing. And if you may be worth XYZ, you may be poor, you may be rich, you may be whatever you are, whoever you are. At the end of the day, your word is what counts. So, in many fun ways to say, I guess you could say, put your money where your mouth is, or cut checks that your mouth can't cash. In short, my way of doing things is I don't promise anything unless I know I'm capable of doing that with people, with customers, with friends, with another, whoever it is, even my wife, my parents, my family, for that matter. So your word is what you have, and you have to stick by it, and that'll take you places, whether you're doing a small project, big project, startup, or anything, building a relationship, a friendship, and anything for that matter. And yeah, keep that. It's not hard. And at the same time, it's not easy. If anything, in my case, I under promise, over deliver. Kind of brought up that way too. I think it's a old saying in Hindi, and that's also kind of ties into your word is what is important.
Reputation carries.
In a world that we live in today, a lot of times that's hard to come by, and that reinforces me more to stick to that